A new guitar comes out, all of the sponsor reviews drop, and no one covers it in extreme detail. And in moments like that, I think to myself the immortalized words of a deviant space god from the Moon Titan.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Instead of having 3 adjustable saddles, we only have 2. So today we're diving deep into the Myles Kennedy signature PRS guitar, and I'm going to explain exactly why it is and isn't a Tele. Now this video isn't sponsored and I clearly wasn't part of the big reveal with the fancy YouTubers, but PRS, next time. So as you can see from looking around the room, I have a thing for unique T-style guitars, and when assessing how Tele a guitar is, we can think of the triangulation of 3 different attributes: visuals, feels, and sound. So let's use these categories to take a tour of this instrument, starting with the visuals or looks. In typical PRS fashion, we have 3 per side tuners and nice straight string pull from the bone nut to the tuners. And I really like how PRS makes these tuners. They have buttons and rears that look like traditional tuners, but they do have a discrete locking feature on the front top of the guitar. I also love this dark wood decal on the headstock. That, along with the gold Paul Reed Smith signature, is really, really elegant. And Mystery Girl pointed out that she thought that the owl on this guitar was the same owl from one of Drake's albums, so that's her contribution to this review. As I already said, we have a bone nut and we have the PRS serial number written in Sharpie on the back of the headstock. Now, if we continue to think about looks and just looks, we have a maple neck and a maple board, and that was the original Telecaster wood choice. But to change things up just a little bit, we have the PRS birds in a black outline, and then we have an ash body. Now, my favorite color of this guitar was antique white, but that one was sold out already, so I went with this one. And although the antique white was already sold out, I did buy this from Sweetwater, and there were 2 of these models available. And since Sweetwater tells you the weight of each guitar, I picked a slightly less weight version, which was this one. If you want to support the channel with no additional cost to you, just bookmark my Sweetwater affiliate link and use it whenever you shop with Sweetwater. It's a super easy way to support the channel with no additional cost to you. I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to talk more about these brass saddles a bit later, but obviously this was very much inspired by the traditional T-style guitar. So when you look at this guitar as a whole, I actually think it looks a bit more like a mix between a Les Paul Studio and a Telecaster. So this type of hybrid thing rather than it just looking like a Telecaster. But when we move to the next attribute and discuss how this guitar feels, well, that's where things get very, very Tele in my opinion. So whenever I think about how a Tele feels in the left hand especially, I immediately imagine a really big fat neck, 25.5 inch scale length, and a very round fretboard radius. For me, 12 inches is the transitional radius, so anything below 12 I consider very round, anything above 12 I consider fairly flat. And out of all of the Teles that I own, this PRS is the most Tele-like in terms of how the neck feels. So yes, we have the 25.5 inch scale, and we also have a 10 inch radius, which is fairly round. But the neck itself, mixed with that round radius, I mean, this is just a really, really big, fat, round neck. You can see the exact specs as described by PRS, but I want to show you how fat this neck really is. So I'm going to do my own measurements with this guitar and some of the other guitars in the room. Keep in mind that the proper way to do this measurement is to take the strings off, but I'm not taking the strings off of all of my guitars for measurements. Just use these measurements as a way to get an idea for how this might actually feel in the hand. So to get my measurement, I am pressing down on the strings and measuring right at the first dot on the 3rd fret. So this is a Parker Southern Knife Fly. In the hand, it feels like slightly thicker than a modern C. So if you've ever played an Ibanez AZ series, imagine that neck, but ever so slightly thicker. And this one measures at 0.91 inch. So it's pretty thick for a modern guitar. So this is a Squier Telecaster. I forget the exact model, but I will put it on screen if I remember. And this is also a Tele with a fairly big neck, 0.93 inches. In the hand, this feels very similar to the PRS guitar. This guitar also has a lot of shoulder and a lot of roundness like the PRS guitar, but the PRS is much thicker in the hand. Now, prior to owning the PRS Myles Kennedy Tele, this Tele made by Steve Klein was my fattest neck Tele. I'm getting right under an inch, so 0.95 of an inch. And I know that 0.5 may not seem like a big difference, but I can immediately feel that the Myles Kennedy Tele is a lot fatter. And I think it's because that one also has a bit more shoulder than this guitar. And while we're at it, let's check the PRS DGT SE neck. I think it feels amazing, but it is a bit chunky, so let's see. Here we have 0.94 inch. Myles Kennedy signature PRS guitar, 1 inch, 0.01. So yes, this neck is really big and it feels like a Tele. In fact, it feels more like a Tele than most Tele guitars I try nowadays. The frets also do feel a little bit narrow, but they're still plenty tall, so I find them very comfortable. And we also got a question about the actual fret size, and this is not a scientific way of doing this, but it will give you some type of an idea. Right here I have my PRS DGT SE, and these frets feel like the more common frets that you find on most other guitars. And when I measured them, in terms of the width, we have 0.11. And if I measure the frets on the Myles Kennedy guitar right here on my lap, 0.09 inch. So like I said, the Myles Kennedy frets are definitely a bit narrower, but again, since they are the normal height, they feel really good. To me, the height is going to make more of a difference, but now you know. And I know some of you are going to be thinking to yourself that that small difference is not going to make a big deal, but if you've ever seen a homunculus man diagram, it's basically a diagram that depicts human beings if our various body parts were the size of the amount of nerve endings they had. If you look at that diagram, you will see that our hands and our lips, etc., have the most nerve endings, and so they're the most sensitive. We can tell the most detail with them. So yes, that tiny difference with the size of the fret or with even the size of the neck, we can feel that small difference, which is why I spend so much time going in extreme detail on these topics. And if you think I go into extreme detail with reviewing guitars, keep in mind my actual goal is to become one of the world's most renowned guitar teachers. Imagine how detailed and nuanced my guitar lessons are. And of course, as you would expect for a guitar of this price, the fret ends are perfect, the leveling is perfect, the setup from the factory was fantastic, no complaints there whatsoever. Now the body does have that same Tele-esque shape since it's a pretty big slab of wood, but there is just enough contouring on the back of the guitar and also on the forearm contour to make it more comfortable. Against the body, it doesn't feel like a super modern contour Tele, but it does feel a bit more comfortable than you might expect, so I really enjoy that. And as always, PRS does a very good job with the carving on the upper horn. You can see the carving is on the front of the guitar instead of the back of the guitar. And so when you're up here and you're flailing about, that is never going to get in your way when you're playing. And this is a small detail that more companies should really take advantage of, because when we play up here, we're usually on a diagonal, and since we're on that diagonal, it makes more sense to have the carve in this area. Little carving on the back also helps, but really it's the carve in the front. And also, instead of PRS's signature block of wood set neck joint, instead we have the bolt-on design here for the PRS. Now, if we look closely at this bridge, you'll see that it differs from a traditional Tele bridge in a few ways. First, instead of having 3 adjustable saddles, we only have 2. But where a Tele only has 3 adjustable intonation screws, the PRS actually has 4. So yes, the bridge does intonate very well, and there's nothing to worry about in that regard. Okay, so now we're going to get to how it sounds. Well, in terms of Teles, we basically have the original Tele with the 2 single coil pickups, and then we have the deluxe Tele with the 2 humbucking pickups, and then we have my personal favorite, the Tele with the single coil in the bridge and the humbucker in the front. And to me, the sound of a Tele is to have a neck pickup. Even if it's a single coil humbucker, it doesn't matter. The neck pickup should be somewhat mellow, but still plenty cutting. And then we know the bridge pickup should just be loud and bright. So on the PRS guitar, we do have hum canceling pickups, a 5-way switch, master volume, master tone, and then we have a push-pull on the tone knob. The push-pull on the tone control cuts some of the high ends and darkens the tone just a little bit in positions 1, which is all bridge pickup, and then position 4. So first, I'm just going to quickly run through all of the pickup configurations on a clean tone so you can hear the character of all of them. And then I'll play with the amp settings a bit and show you some characteristic tones from each of the pickups. And by the way, if you're a guitarist like me who has a wide array of influences from blues to jazz to metal, you should definitely check out my Guitarcraft newsletter. I do all types of lessons there that are not on YouTube, so check it out, link below. So in terms of tones, this guitar is literally everything that I could ever want from a Tele. Whenever I get a T-style guitar, the first thing I usually do is purchase noiseless single coil pickups and put them in there. So the fact that this PRS already has that makes me happy. And these pickups also have a unique sound to them. In the neck position, we have the fatness and the warmth of a humbucking pickup, but we have just a little bit of that character from a single coil pickup. And in terms of the bridge pickup, it's hot and it's noiseless. You can chug with it. Now, I don't know any riffs from any songs right now, so I'm just going to play an assortment of random modern metal chugs and noises. It does everything you want from a Tele, and yeah, we all love that. Now, when I first got this guitar, I didn't understand the point of this push-pull knob on the tone knob, but now that I've spent some more time with it, it really makes sense to me. Sometimes you get to the bridge pickup on a Tele with a certain amp setting and it's just too bright and too in your face. Well, we pop that switch and all of a sudden some of those highs are taken away and it smooths it out just a little bit while still keeping that bridge Tele kind of sound. So really, this is a super versatile guitar in terms of the overall tones. And I like that the 5-way switch is back and away, so I'm definitely not going to hit it whenever I'm playing the guitar. One final thing, I know people are going to be upset when a guitar of this price comes with a padded gig bag instead of a hardshell case. I totally understand where you're coming from, but when I was buying this guitar, if there was a choice for the same price between a hardshell case and a gig bag, I personally always would pick the gig bag. And that's just because whenever I get a guitar and it comes with a hard case, the case goes in the closet, I find the gig bag, and when I'm getting on the bus or the train, I bring the gig bag for obvious reasons. And the only time I use a hard shell case is when I'm selling a guitar and shipping it. So for me, the gig bag is a better option, but again, I totally understand if you prefer a hard case with a guitar of this price. Okay, so now we're on to price, and if you made it this far in the video, you're either really enjoying yourself or you're hate watching me. Either way, I distracted you from the annoyances of real life for a while, so give this video a like, and also consider checking out all of the extra free lessons and exclusive gear reviews on my Patreon. I also do custom lessons and Q&As. We're having a lot of fun over there. But back to the price. This guitar is something like 3,000 American dollars. And if you don't buy $3,000 guitars, I totally understand. Before I started this YouTube channel in 2022, I played guitar for like 18 years and I never owned a PRS core model guitar. So trust me, I get it. Maybe in 2024, the SE version will come out and yeah, we'll try it out on the channel as well. But here's the thing, there are plenty of high-end brands and boutique builders that reproduce the exact same basic T-style guitar. No contours, traditional pickups, nickel frets, all of that stuff, without innovating whatsoever, and they charge all types of obscene prices that I personally wouldn't play. This guitar is at least unique in my opinion. Remember, this is totally not sponsored. If you like the old school Tele feel in the left hand, but you want a bit more of a modern tone with more variety, a bit more comfort on the body, and really important for me, modern reliability, then this is absolutely the perfect guitar for you. And if I'm being honest, I can't think of any other guitar on the market that does this type of a thing with these type of pickups and this type of left hand feel. But if you like the looks of a Tele, but the left hand feel of a modern guitar with a thinner neck and stainless steel frets, then obviously don't buy this guitar. Go buy the Tom Quayle Ibanez Tele thing, or go buy the Mateus Sasato Shure Tele for like $4,000 or $5,000. That will give you that type of a thing. But what I'm trying to say here is that this guitar definitely, in my opinion, is unique. It has a feel that's unique. It has a sound that's unique. And if you like that type of a thing, this is a great guitar in my opinion. And also in 2023, $3,000 for an American-made high-quality guitar, that's just what these things cost nowadays. So keep that in mind as well. By the way, I'm Andre Flood. My Patreon link below is not a donation. You get a lot of stuff for your $5. I'll talk to you soon.